Hey everybody. I'm going to make a video this time that will be a little bit shorter and just a bit more fun, I guess. I've been really busy lately with readings, which, I'm super thankful for. It's amazing. But between that and then my oldest kid moving into college tomorrow, things have been crazy. And I have so many videos that I've started making, but I haven't been able to finish. And I'm sure I'll get to them when I have time, but I wanted to make a quick video about something that I love to talk about and is easy for me to talk about, which is books. So I'm going to talk about my favorite tarot books, and I'm sure that as soon as I make this video, I'm going to think of one that I really should have included. But I went through all the books that I have and tried to think of any other ones that I don't own but have read and came up with my favorites. So I think I came up with 11 books. So I'm not going to talk about them very long. I'll put a link for each one in the description of the video. And yeah, so let's talk books. So the first book is Your Tarot, Your Way by Barbara Moore. And I picked this book because I think it would be my top choice for somebody who wants to learn tarot but doesn't know a thing about it. Like the very beginner guide that I like the best, basically. And it says right at the bottom, learn to read with any deck, but also like a lot of times if you tried to find this book, you would find it in a set with the tarot deck that she designed that matches the images in the book. And I think that that's helpful. And that the deck itself has like good imagery that is like the symbolism is like it's deep and meaningful, but it's also like logical. So you feel like you can understand why the images line up with the descriptions that she's talking about. It doesn't stray too far from the classic Rider Waite Smith imagery, so that if you have some familiarity with that, then it will make sense. It won't be overwhelmingly different. I really like how she describes like the minor arcana in terms of she groups them by numbers so that you could learn like what do the twos represent as a whole, and then what does each two represent specifically. And um, she has just like she covers a lot of topics, but not in too much depth that it would be overwhelming. Like she talks about like to read reversals or not read reversals, and basics about spreads and things like that. And it's not ever too much information, and she doesn't say like you have to do it this way. Like obviously based on the title of the book you would expect that. So I think it really is a great book for encouraging somebody brand new to tarot to feel confident that they can come up with their own style, but then also I think it's really got a very good brief overview of like traditional card meanings, as well as the length of the book, like the fact that it's pretty short and the way that it's written really just encourages you to like get right to work and start using your cards. And I think that's great. So this is a book that I would definitely recommend to somebody who had very little background in tarot but was interested in learning. Tarot No Questions Asked by Teresa Reed would be my other top recommendation for a beginner. And this one is a little more in depth, and she not only goes over like the basic meanings but also like other ways to look at the cards, like more there's more depth and variety in her descriptions of each cards and what they could mean. And I think that's okay if that's what someone's looking for. I think that could be really helpful actually. um and if you had like a basic like keyword association for each card but you wanted more, this would be a great book to find that in. But then also I really like each card, and then also like for different techniques and stuff later in the book she has what she calls a tarot size, like different exercises to connect to different cards, to connect to the cards as a whole. And I think they're really great, and she gives a lot of good ideas for how to deepen your connection with the cards. And I also like that she has, for each book, she has how to embody the energy of this card. So, like for the Ten of Pentacles, she has hold a family reunion, catch up with folks you haven't seen in a while, spend time with elders and children, etc., etc. So, like trying to like really even live the energy of the card to connect with them in that way. Like they're really, it's a really great book, and I highly recommend it. So the next book is Modern Tarot by Michelle T. This book, I adore this book. I love her writing style. It's very like informal and casual and fun, and I feel like it's like talking to a friend. And she's funny and kind of like offbeat, and she always has these like examples from her life about the different cards. that are really interesting and sometimes like different than what you might expect, and it really draws you in. I think it's a really entertaining book to read, and I think that this is a book that would appeal to people who already know the meanings of the cards. Like you could definitely learn the meanings of the cards and how to work with different cards, and like the wide range of possibilities for each card from this book. But I personally really got a lot out of it, already being really familiar with the tarot deck, the tarot cards, and like still feeling like, I don't know, I really appreciated the ways that she would look at the cards. And I loved how for each card, she would think about it like, what would this card be as a situation? What would it be if this card is another person? What would it be if this card was you? And like, then she gives these kind of like witchy ways of like working with the cards, like rituals and cool things you could do to bring the energy of the card into your life. And I think it's really fun. And I really liked her way of breaking down like the perspective of each card into those three different categories. I thought that was a really helpful way to organize the book as well. And I just also really like her writing in her voice. Fearless Tarot by Elliot Adam is an amazing book for especially like if you're in a kind of a dark or hard time and you want to turn to tarot for some like reassurance or support or advice, and yet you're like feeling kind of vulnerable at that time and you're like please be gentle with me kind of energy. This book, like it says, how to give a positive reading in any situation, but it's more than that. It's like talking to a therapist, like using this book almost. And he has like such great advice for just like life advice, honestly, not even just tarot. Like, and his way of expressing meanings of cards is so, it really just feels like a hug. I mean, it's so reassuring and it's so inspirational that I would recommend this book to anybody. I mean, sometimes you need to get a reading that's just kind of like, like shape up, like, pull yourself together sort of thing. But if you're not in a place for that, this book is a great place to turn. Um, and I also think that he has some really interesting takes on some of the cards. He has like keywords for the cards or like a key phrase, and they're not always what I would have expected, but I mean, they always make sense. And I'm always like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. Um, but yeah, sometimes he has just kind of a different perspective on a card that helps me to sort of, expand my view of the card and just like constantly trying to think of even more ways that these cards can be explained and lived with. So, I would recommend this card to anybody who's having a hard time for sure, and wants to use tarot to navigate that time. And I would also recommend this book if you're looking for ways to use more supportive and uplifting language in your readings. Like if you're a reader, I think that this book could really help with that. And I also, he's the only author out of all the books that I'm showing where I have two of his books in it. So I'm just going to jump right into the next one. So I was so excited when I saw that Elliot Adam had another book, Tarot and Love, and it did not disappoint. He basically breaks down how each card could show up in a love reading in different contexts and what each card could be teaching you. So for each card, he has like, what if it's in a context of like a long-term relationship or a new love or desire or whatever. And then um, at the end of each card's description, he also talks about like what this card could be teaching you, and it's so profound and moving. And I just love how um, positive and also how like inspirational his writing is. So, 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack. In the picture, you'll see that I have an old copy that is broken into two volumes, part one and part two. But usually, if you look for it now, you'll find it all as um, one book. But this is a classic that anyone who's serious about tarot should read. I mean, she has some really profound things to say about each of the cards and about tarot as a whole, history of tarot. It's really interesting and very readable. Like it's not like too dense or obscure. And I wouldn't like recommend it to somebody as their first book about tarot when they don't know anything about tarot necessarily. It doesn't have to be like a long wait though before you're ready for a book like this. And I really just think it would add to anyone's understanding of each card. I really like her writing style and her approach and just the like additional depth that she offers in her book. So the Tarot Spreads Yearbook is a different sort of book for me because I don't typically focus on using a bunch of different spreads when I'm working with tarot. I have a few that I stick with, or I'll just come up with something on the fly that works for whatever the question is. So it's not really like a primary focus for me necessarily, but I like this book because it's really seasonal in nature and it shows you how to like work with tarot through the seasons. And it also, um, I feel like it's just like a really like visually pleasing and beautiful book, and that there are really interesting ideas for like how you could approach the cards about different topics, and especially with like that like internal focus about like self growth and connecting with cycles and the seasons and what that can mean internally as well. And yeah, so I think it's a really lovely book, and I think that it's a really quick read, and that anybody could probably find something beautiful or inspirational in it. Um, I know I did. So next we have The Creative Tarot, Modern Guide to Inspired Life by Jessa Crispin. And I really love this book. It's so much fun. It's really great if you are an artist of any kind, or if you really like try to be creative in your daily life and it's like an important part of your life. If you find it like interesting to read about other creative people who work with like any medium, then this is definitely a great book for you, because she basically like for each card she includes some kind of story about some artist or other sort of creative type, and ties their story in with the energy of the card. She has also like after each card she has like examples of, she calls it recommended materials, but it could be like a book, a song, like a movie, like anything. And that kind of inspired me to think about like, well, what different creative works do I associate with each of these cards? And it's just like a really fun rabbit hole to go down. But also, there's so many interesting stories in it. So I would definitely say that this book is somewhat like specific in its audience. If you're not interested in creativity or art or reading about the lives of creative types, then you might not be that into it. But I think a lot of people can find that stuff fascinating. I know I do. And I thought this book was so much fun. Okay, so the last three books that I'm going to show are also somewhat specific in like who might find them appealing, I guess. Like 36 Secrets by T. Susan Chang is an amazing book, but if you are brand new to tarot, and or astrology, it might not be for you. Like I feel like I really loved this book because I was already familiar with tarot and astrology, and the way that she connects the two is so interesting. And she talks about the astrological associations of each card, and she walks through the decans in astrology, and has just like the most interesting little like anecdotes, just like full of like fun facts and inspirational ideas and connections. Like I just felt like it was like a bunch of little connections going off in my brain, like as I was reading it. Um, but I probably would have felt a little bit lost if I didn't already have a background in both tarot and astrology. But if you do, then definitely check out this book. It's so, so good. So the next book is by Patrick Dunn. It's called Cartomancy with the Lenormand and the Tarot. And if you are interested in both, the two different types of card-based divination, then this book would be really interesting to you, I think, because they're very different. Like the way that you use each type is really different. Like with tarot, you like with each card, you're trying to dig into the card and get like so many different layers of meaning and so many um, details. And there's like this like intuitive process of like what to focus on in each card, because each card is so like infinitely complex. And then with Lenormand, it can be more about like combining the cards so that you're like reading the cards together almost like they become a sentence. And the cards will like further elaborate on the other cards in a way that is much more, I think, simple and straightforward and sequential than tarot in a way. And I think that they are both really interesting, and I really appreciated this book because he has like this really interesting part in the beginning where he's talking about skepticism and divination and how he considers himself to be a skeptic, even though he like also is really into divination, obviously. And I love that because like same, I totally resonated with that. And yeah, I think that alone like makes the book worth it. Like that section was so interesting to me. But then also I thought he has really creative ways of trying to tie the two systems together. Creatively to create readings that use both because in a way like you kind of use your brain differently with each system, so it's tricky to try to figure out how you would combine them into one reading. And I thought he did a really interesting and good job, and that also just like a lot of the theory and the like big ideas that he tries to cover and like just like ponders in the book were really fascinating to me. So I would recommend this book to anyone who's interested in Lenormand as well as tarot, and anyone who's interested in just like thinking about what divination means and how it works and why it works and how do we know it works and all that. I thought it was really interesting. So I would definitely recommend this one. And the last book is Ancestral Tarot by Nancy Hendrickson. And again, I think this is going to appeal to like a certain set of people, myself definitely included. But if you are interested in trying to do ancestral work, like if you are interested in trying to use tarot to connect to your ancestors, using tarot to communicate with them, like that sort of idea, like then this is a book for you. I mean, I marked like something on almost every page and I thought it was so good and so fun to work with and so interesting. Um, but I also recognize that it's going to appeal to like a really specific group of people probably. Um, but yeah, if that sounds good to you, then this book, she does an amazing job of covering exactly that. So thank you so much for listening to me talk about my favorite books. I could do this all day, every day, probably. That's why I tried to limit myself to not too many and just tarot books for now. I'm sure I'll do this about astrology books at some point, but I tried to narrow it down and got really overwhelmed because there were just too many. So maybe someday. But yeah, I think that these books would be great. Some of them for beginners, some for people who have a little more background knowledge, some who have some of them are good for people with specific interests, but they're all great books. And if any of them sound interesting to you, then I definitely recommend them. And I will put links in the description. And thank you so much for watching.